willkommen zur neuen Ausgabe SI Talk. Bei mir Andrew Lee Smith, East Africa Metals. Und da hat es eine sehr große Entwicklung gegeben. Sie haben ja ein Joint Venture gemacht, beziehungsweise eigentlich ihre Projekte finanziert, indem sie quasi 70% der Projekte hergeben haben und der Rest können sie eigentlich. Und das heißt, sie brauchen jetzt eigentlich nichts mehr tun, außer zurückzulehnen und Däumchen drehen. Denke mal. Schauen wir mal, ob es tatsächlich so ist. Andrew, thank you to have the time and say in my German introduction, you make a deal with a Chinese group. So mean this now that you're sitting in your chair and wait that the money is arriving?
Yes, that is the long-term projection. We've now completed the full cycle in Ethiopia. 2010, we showed up on the property with no exploration, no drilling had ever been completed. And in 9 years, we have drilled off almost 2 million ounces of resources. We've got them permitted. We've now dealt the development to Chinese partners. And we retain 30% of the profits from not one, but two mines that are on the Adiabo project, the Matabula and Datambuk mining operations. So yes, we have some ironing out to do, a couple of paperwork issues to sort out here, which should be taken care of in the next couple of weeks, and we expect development to start immediately.
And when we can expect really that the mines are starting production?
Well, there's a 2-year time limit on development in the mining license, so we fully expect, and our Chinese partners are fully comfortable that they will have the project up and running in 2 years.
Okay, but it's not long in your hands, so that the Chinese are now in the driver's seat and you are in the back seat and watch what they're doing.
Well, to a certain extent, you do have to recall, though, that we retained all of the exploration rights to all of the mineral potential outside the mining licenses. Mm-hmm. The project that the initial transaction has been done with Tibet Wayuu, our partner, the Adiabo project is a very large project with multiple exploration potential on it. The agreement between Tibet Wayuu and I and EAM is specifically for the current resource, mm-hmm. and specifically for that resource that sits within the mining license. All of the other exploration potential still remains with East Africa.
Do you plan something to work on this?
We're in a position, as soon as we get the transaction completed, it's closed from a public company point of view, but there, as I said, there is a small bit of documentation that is nearing completion with the Ethiopian government to completely formalize, mm-hmm. the agreement. So once that is done, we intend to launch into a drilling program on our key targets. And the agreement with that we have with Tibet Wayuu means that we will, any future resources or discoveries that we make will be offered to them
first rights
to acquire.
Okay.
So there'll be additional cash payments that will be associated with that. The current agreement means that any new resources, Tibet Wayuu will bear the costs of developing them, mm-hmm. and we will retain 30% profits interest on the current resource and any new resources that we expand. So we believe there's a tremendous opportunity to expand the resource and fold that into the operation with Tibet Wayuu once we've completed the drilling, which will be about 18 months from now.
Mm-hmm. So that's mean, but on the other hand, then drilling and exploration is expensive.
Yes.
So that's mean also that I would understand it when you slow down a little the process and see, okay, how much money or when come the money in, and with the money what they come in, you can, mm-hmm. then starting the exploration immediately, then it's much easier and you have no dilution and nothing.
That's true, and even more so, we have established, we've prepaid for the drilling. Mm-hmm. So we have a credit that we'll be working for, okay. from the financing that we did back in March. Okay. So the bulk of the financing required to do this drilling program is already in place.
Okay.
We will just have to be covering our costs for operating geologist assays, that, mm-hmm. sort of stuff. So we're quite confident. We did that with the idea that we'd be able to get a quick start and that we tied all that up in one financing as opposed to doing one and then doing another. So.
And it's good. You have a news flow between the starting of construction and starting for the production. So.
Exactly, and we have been silent for the most part for the last 8 months while we've been going through this process. But we're about to break out, and the news flow should be significant. We'll be drilling some of our most prospective targets right out of the gate. The development will be continuing. We are currently we have 2 other projects, one in Tanzania and the Harvest project in Ethiopia, which are not yet been transferred to the hands of developers, but we're currently in negotiations to get those done, and believe that we'll be able to make progress. And our hope is to in 6 months to a year's time have active exploration plans going and development going potentially on the 2 projects that we have an agreement on, but plus the other 2 as well. So we see a future for the company within the next 2 or 3 years where we may be getting 30% net profits interest from 4 mining operations, and fulfill our corporate wish to become a self-funding exploration company, a project generator, with the relationships with development companies that will be supporting and taking on work. Our shareholders, and I think the market perception of our company is that we're good explorers. So we've decided to stay with what we're good at, but we've also established a business plan that is based on having these resources generating cash flow to minimize our dilution going forward, yet allow us to continue to make discoveries in East Africa.
So focus East Africa, you said. Coming to this 30% interest, what you get from this Chinese deal, what this mean when the mine is really running? What can this really mean on revenue or money what you get?
It's a significant portion, I think. The cash flow statements that have been put out in the preliminary economic assessment shows the 2 projects, the cash flow that, again, after tax numbers we haven't published yet, but they'd be substantial and probably more than we would need to be active explorer throughout the year. So,
especially with a higher gold price.
Well, that's it. If gold moves, it all reports to our bottom line. So we should be very much tied to gold price with respect to the value of the company. But we'll be crystallizing that value, generating cash flow, using that to create more value through exploration, but also keeping in mind that we may be in a position to consider dividends or other opportunities for developing a broader business plan to create value.
So, and to summarize is you wait now for the final not agreement but final
completion.
And then the construction should be start immediately.
Yes.
So, and then in 2 years they must done the construction, so that we can expect in 2 years, so end of 2021, the mine should run. You get 30% of the profit.
Yes.
And do you know which gold price you use in this?
1350.
1350. So we are now $150 higher. So that means that should be much higher.
Yes.
The profit. So, and you use this cash to start exploration or make more discoveries. Your region is East Africa still, but in the meantime, also it is very important, I think. In the meantime, when we wait for the construction and starting of the production of these 2 gold mines, is that you have prepaid so far a drill program. So that's already funded beside the analytics, geo,
Correct.
and so on. So that we get in the meantime also a news flow, so
Yes.
that we are not sitting and wait.
That's right. Well, and the markets are still a challenge in terms of finding venture capital for exploration projects. So we feel much comfortable and feel that we're in a good position with our programs essentially prepaid. So that'll it's not a question of having to raise money to generate cash flow to initiate programs that will generate cash flow. We have the money in place. We're just waiting for the clearance of these technical issues to complete and wrap up the sale to engage in the exploration. So we expect news flow will be fairly significant and steady as we move forward here with development updates, drilling updates, assay results in the spring, and ongoing negotiations. As I said, we have 2 other projects that are ready for development, and there's significant interest from other people in them, and we're carrying on those discussions as well. So we see the opportunity for transactions, we see the opportunity for discovery, we see the opportunity for development of mining operations and cash flow projections in our near future.
Wow. Do you have any clue why the share price not really react?
No, I really don't, to be honest with you. There is still a significant gap between our net asset value and our market cap. That's my job to address that. I think we've been quiet. I think people are really waiting to see things, and we do need to engage the market with some market outreach and some news flow. And we have been in a position where we've been in a process that we could be putting out news, but it's not really material news as these slow-moving government processes sort of move along. And I think that people are really waiting for some real news. If we're going to remain an exploration company, we're going to continue to be dealing with venture markets. Shareholders in venture markets want action. They want value. They want drilling. They want, and so we have not been engaged in that process for the last 6 to 8 months as we've concluded this. However, we're about to come out of that process and re-engage the exploration value creation mandate that we have. So it's our hope that the market will continue to look at us that way. We're not an exploration company with no assets. We're a little bit different, and we hope that profile will draw attention as the markets come back in their early stages. I think it's traditionally clear that the pure exploration, grassroots exploration projects come back last because they're the highest risk. So we've tried to position ourselves so that we're not there. We have the potential to keep our dilution down. We have the potential to be exposed to any movements in the gold price with respect to the value of the company. And we hope to be able to come in on some of these really highly prospective targets in Ethiopia and generate some significant drill hole results and ultimately resource expansion through a drill program over the next 18 months. So that, as opposed to talking about government approvals and permitting and the EISA surveys and letters of intent with Chinese companies, we talk about drilling, cash flow, development, and I think that people will be able to get their calculators out and figure out what our company's worth. And we will also be on the road. We haven't really been fully engaged with the market because we've been sort of waiting, and it's taken a long time. And for us too, we've had to maintain our patience because it has taken much longer than we've expected. But if you step back and think about from literally pure grassroots exploration to mine development in 8 years,
it's a good time.
It's pretty good.
Ja,
it's pretty good.
Absolutely. Ja, thank you for the update. Ja, was gibt es Neues? Also Sie warten jetzt quasi, bis das der Deal jetzt endlich bestätigt ist. Das Government, da fehlt noch irgendwelche Unterschriften. Das dauert noch ein bisschen. Und der Punkt ist dann einfach, Die 2 Projekte, die sie abgeschlossen haben mit den Chinesen, werden dann dementsprechend umgesetzt. Die Konstruktion beginnt dann danach unmittelbar. Es ist in die Terms drinnen, dass sie innerhalb von 2 Jahren quasi das abschließen müssen. Das heißt, wir können davon ausgehen, wenn das jetzt wirklich in den nächsten Tagen, Wochen passiert, dass sie dann Ende 2021 tatsächlich in Produktion sind. Was bedeutet das? Sie kriegen nur 30% vom Profit. Er hat es nicht genau sagen können, wie es spezifisch ist, weil es keine Zahlen bekannt gegeben haben. Aber wir können noch ein paar Kalkulationen anstellen. Und er hat gesagt, in der Kalkulation haben sie verwendet einen Goldpreis von 1350. Ist der Goldpreis natürlich deutlich höher, kriegen sie natürlich deutlich mehr. So, und was wollen sie tun? Sie wollen explorieren weiter. Sie wollen sich konzentrieren auf dem nach wie vor Ostafrika quasi. Und sie haben Projekte in Tansania, haben aber auch die Projekte in Äthiopien, denn sie haben nur die 2 Minenlizenzen quasi verkauft und alle Explorationsrechte rundherum und so weiter, die sie auch gehabt haben, gehören nach wie vor ihnen. Jetzt kommt aber das Spannende, sie haben bereits ein Bohrprogramm bezahlt im Voraus, sodass sie in der Zwischenzeit zwischen wenn die Konstruktion startet, auch gleich mit dem Bohrprogramm wieder starten können für andere Explorationsprojekte, Targets, was sie haben, damit der Newsflow dementsprechend ausschaut. Weil er hat gesagt, eins können sie gut und das ist explorieren. Und man darf nicht vergessen, sie sind 2010 haben sie gestartet und innerhalb von 9 Jahren haben sie es quasi die Company von 0 auf über 2 Millionen Unzen plus jetzt ein Deal, dass das auch in Produktion geht, abgeschlossen. Und das ist eigentlich eine sehr, sehr gute Zeit. So, und das ist genau das, wo er quasi darauf aufbaut und das weiter verfeinert und genau dort er auch wieder ansetzen will, nämlich wieder bei der Exploration. Natürlich sollte der Cashflow, der daran rauskommen soll aus diesen Projekten, höher sein als das, was natürlich Geld in die Exploration stecken, so dass vielleicht sogar was überbleibt und dass auch Dividende irgendwann einmal gezahlt werden kann für die Aktionäre. Wenn man sich den Aktienkurs anschaut, dann ist das ein Desaster. Ich glaube, da ist viel nicht drinnen, liegt wahrscheinlich auch daran, dass man noch keinen Cashflow hat und nicht sieht. Er hat dann gesagt, der Newsflow wird also rausgekommen, A aus dem Bohrprogramm, B natürlich Umsetzung der Konstruktion, C Cashflow und möglicherweise weitere Deals, denn sie haben zwar fortgeschrittene Projekte, die jederzeit auch in ähnlichen Deals umgesetzt werden kann. Und er hat, glaube ich, so einen Zwischensatz einmal gesagt, das kann durchaus sein, dass man in ein paar Jahren dann 4 produzierende Assets hat, die jeweils so 30% Profit für einer abwerfen. Spannende Sache, finde ich nach wie vor extrem interessant. Der Aktienkurs hat 0 reagiert drauf und jedes Mal, wenn ich aus einem Interview rausgehe, denke ich mir, jetzt muss ich die Aktie kaufen. Schauen wir mal, ob es jetzt dann auch tatsächlich so weit bald einmal ist. Das war es von East Africa Metals, Vancouver, Oktober 2019. Tschüss und Baba. Thank you.
Thank you.